The purpose of this screencast is to share important information about recording Google Meets, one-on-one sessions in Google Meets, and breakout rooms. If you are here looking for information or guidance around telehealth, teleintervention, or teletherapy, you want to go to this link in the document that was shared in your email, as this session does not cover any of that guidance. The guidance is divided into 3 sections. Section A is about recording Google Meets. As you can imagine, there are going to be some students who will not be able to attend live sessions, although that's our preference. The guidelines are to make sure that we can create recordings so that students can view them at a time that's convenient for them or when their families can facilitate learning. This does not mean that we are going to record all Google Meet sessions for their entirety. The importance here is that we look at this criteria, which is to provide access and flexibility in the instructional program for students and families. I want to thank FCTA leadership for going through these guidelines with us. We did come to an agreement that these recorded lessons should not be used as part of the observation and evaluation process. However, principals are free to observe teachers in live Google Meet sessions. The most important part of the process that school administrators will be supporting is getting parent permission. This will go out via some communications from principals, we believe, on Thursday afternoon. And once the information is back, it'll be recorded in eSchool is the plan. And so you should always know which of your students have permission for recording and which of your students do not. Now, I mentioned that you won't record every single thing that occurs in a Google Meet. We've come to an agreement with senior leaders as well as FCTA that morning meetings, advisory groups, and social emotional learning lessons should not be recorded because of the potentially sensitive nature of those. And so there are 3 preferred methods for sharing instruction with families. The first is to not record a Google Meet session at all, but rather create a screencast, a Pear Deck, or some other type of presentation, even maybe a narrated Google Slides. This is a way to provide instruction that doesn't require you to record a Google Meet, and it would actually allow you to free up time in your face-to-face synchronous time in Google Meet sessions to check in with students' understanding, to provide reteaching, to do formative assessment, other things that would be a different use of your time. This document we ask that you go through, and this is about how screencasting can be an important tool for your classroom. The second and third preferred methods are actually recording Google Meet sessions. The first is, if you're doing direct instruction at the beginning of a Google Meet, just record that part. And then stop recording, and then when you're having conversations with students and doing the student interaction after that, if a student who was not present in the Google Meet didn't need to see that part, then that wouldn't be recorded. The third preferred method is if you're going to actually record student interactions, and this would be the example I've been using is like a student debate. If you had 3 students on each side of a debate topic, like whether we should use or not use nuclear power, those 6 students could be recorded if they have permission. They could do the debate, and then the debate could be shared with students who weren't present if there was follow-up instruction related to that debate. So if you're uncertain about whether part of a recorded session should be shared, have that conversation with your school administrator. Again, not all sections of a Google Meet session or all sessions themselves should be recorded, but rather those that will provide that instructional flexibility. The next section of this document deals with the procedures for recording the Google Meet sessions. So you have to have permission, and you have to be able to create each Meet session securely. And so there's some direction here as well as some steps down here that you would want to follow to create your Meet safely. You're going to provide notification. There's some sample language here, but teachers of our youngest learners may want to make this a little more kid-friendly. But as long as you communicate these things when you're starting a recording, it's important to do that. And then minimizing the appearance of students. This includes things like if a student doesn't have permission, or maybe for the recording of direct instruction, you want all cameras and microphones to be off. You could also pin yourself into the Google Meet so that the majority of the screen is you. And then also making a decision about only recording the necessary parts. Section 5 of subsection 5 of Section A is about the procedures for storing and sharing recordings. This is absolutely a critical skill for all teachers or anyone recording a Google Meet to have in place. There's a 3-step process to make sure that students eventually won't be able to download or share recordings that you provide for them. And so the first step is around how to create a Google folder so you properly share them. The second step is how you set the security controls on the video that's created as part of the recording. How do you name it? This step right here is so critical, we've actually highlighted so that you know that you have to go in and uncheck this box. So please read through this carefully, and this screencast up here will walk you through all of these steps. And then the third step is sharing the recordings through Schoology. There's a section in here about deleting recordings. We don't want these recordings to be around forever, so when they don't serve an instructional purpose anymore, you can delete those. We did understand that maybe some of our high school teachers would have wanted to keep certain selected videos, in the event that they need to be used in the second semester. I think we're all hoping that we're not in virtual at that time, but if conditions warrant that we are, then high school teachers would be able to keep selected videos. My recommendation is hold on to a video for second semester if it has very little student interaction in it, and so that it almost serves like a screencast. There's 2 sections around student responsibilities that you're going to communicate to your students about their conduct associated with Google Meet sessions. This will also be in the parent document that we send to families. And then there are your staff responsibilities here. What do you do if you feel that a video has been shared in an unauthorized manner? How do you deal with inappropriate conduct in that session? Some of you may have already handled some of these incidents this year, and we thank you for sorting through that. And then also the staff responsibility is that, if you become aware that some of this has occurred, you're going to have to secure that video or any evidence that you have that something's been inappropriately used, and get that to your school principal. And as always, we have high expectations for our staff here in Frederick County, and staff would be subject to disciplinary action if they're not properly saving, storing, sharing, and deleting recordings as outlined in these guidelines. So that's an important one to remember. We have some incident response items here as well. Section B deals with one-on-one meetings with students. The biggest thing with that is parents can opt out of one-to-one meetings. We need to notify parents that their student is going to be in a one-to-one meeting. Blanket notifications are okay. So for instance, if a student's going to be scheduled for a one-to-one meeting with a teacher on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next 6 or 8 weeks, we just need to notify them one time that that's going to be occurring. All of those meetings have to occur in Google Meet. Administrators need to have access to those links so they can pop in and out. Similar, if you were meeting one-on-one with a student in a classroom, the administrator could come in and out of that classroom. We did put some time limits on this so that teachers were not on beyond the hours that are listed here. And then you're going to log those sessions. Principals, it's not required that you log, but we think it's definitely legally advisable to record those. So principals will send a Google form to all staff, and then you would be able to record your one-on-one sessions at that point. The final section of this document is about the use of breakout sessions, and basically breakout sessions are prohibited until further notice. This breakout room feature is not available in Google Meet until October, and so what we don't want to do is have teachers trying to create technology workarounds that would inadvertently place a group of students unsupervised in a Google Meet session. Now, it's certainly okay if teachers have another staff member that they could send part of their students to a different Google Meet. So a teacher is teaching a direct lesson, but they want 8 students to go with a special educator, and then those students leave the classroom teacher's Google Meet and go into the Google Meet for the special educator. That's okay because those are supervised environments, but we don't want any workarounds on a teacher trying to create or reinvent or reimagine the breakout room experience until this feature is available. Once it's available, we'll share that with teachers and make sure that they know how to use them properly. So that's an overview of the document. One important thing to remember is that when we begin recording the week after Labor Day, our goal, and this is directly from Superintendent Albin, is that we do this well, not that we do it fast. So in that first week after Labor Day, we're requesting that teachers make sure that they really understand how to secure, share, store videos appropriately. They understand the guidelines, and then you start small. So maybe the first recording you do in a Google Meet doesn't actually have any students in it, but rather you treat it as a screencast. Do your instruction in that time period, record that Google Meet, go through the procedure of renaming it, storing it, and putting the security settings on it, distributing that to students, and seeing if in fact the process worked out well. So in this first week after Labor Day, we're going to go slow and steady so that we can demonstrate that we can do all the things that are required by these guidelines. The other thing to note is this screencast was made at 12:15 on September 2nd. There might be some minor adjustments to these guidelines. We have one more vetting session this afternoon with school principals. And so when you receive this, you might see that something has changed, but you will have a link to the most updated document. But generally, it'll be organized this way, and we don't expect there to be significant changes. So thanks to everybody. We've been hearing some awesome stuff about how the first couple of days of school have gone, and that's a tribute to you as teachers and staff members who are making it happen. The full virtual model is coming to life out there, and we appreciate your effort. We know it's not easy, and we thank you for your service to our students. Good luck with recordings.